I'm Mike Dubrick, along with our brand new co-host, Alex Maltich, and this is the return of Red Patch Live. Welcome to Red Patch Live. Like I said, Mike Dubrick, along with our brand new co-host, Alex Maltich. Alex, how you doing?
Not bad. Yourself?
Now, Alex, you have made the leap from the producer of the show to the full-on co-host.
Co-host / producer.
Now, did you have something to do with Patrick being sent overseas? I know he says it was love, but, let's face facts here. You gave him a boot, right?
Well, I'd like to say that I did, because then I'll be a hero among the group.
That's not true.
No, of course not. But I actually didn't. But for the time being, I'll definitely fill in for those big shoes.
That's it. So, like I said, we brought the show back. It's been quite a while since we've done the episodes. Unfortunately, but we're ready to go again, and I think we're really going to offer a good product this time around. We were going to try and have some interviews on a weekly basis, and as much as Pat may be overseas, he may not be quite as far as he may seem, because he will be doing a weekly report for us from England, which is going to be really cool.
Yep, he tried to get away, but he pulled himself back in.
So coming up on the show today, we've actually got an awesome interview. We're going to be talking to Ben Knight from the Globe and Mail. A lot of you will know Ben, of course, from his blogs on Sportsnet and from just coming on the message boards, talking to the guys. And he was at the Red Patch Boys year-end dinner there. I know a lot of people got a chance to chat with him. An awesome opinion on soccer in the community. Ben has a lot of sort of history. He's been writing about soccer for years and a lot of knowledge, and we're really lucky to have him on the show. So he's coming up, and also we're going to talk to Patrick. But what else we got going on?
We're going to talk about Mo. He's in Brazil. A little bit of Edu. I think maybe we can start it off a little bit with the Euro qualifying.
Yeah, of course. It was a big weekend. It was a big weekend for soccer in general. We had the MLS Cup, of course, on Sunday afternoon at noon. I don't really understand why it was at noon, but, c'est la vie. But on Saturday, of course, the big showdown for most of the people that I talked to was Scotland against Italy at Hampden Park in Glasgow, the 2-1 victory in the 90th minute for Italy. Sending the Scots packing once again and taking away their dream for a Euro 2008 qualification spot. Did you watch the match? Did you watch the games? What did you do?
Yes, caught the game. Not impressed with the reffing at all. Obviously, there's offsides that were called that weren't offsides.
Well, yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on. You've got Italy's second goal when it would have been 2-0, which was called offside, which clearly wasn't.
Yep.
You've got Scotland's goal, which looked to be offside, which wasn't called, and then you have that call at the end, which just for all the people who say, oh, Scotland should have beat Georgia and Scotland should have been down, and McFadden should have taken that chance that he had when Miller crossed the ball to him towards the end to make it 2-1. For all that stuff, that call at the end really soured it for everyone, I think. And it really did make an impact in the game, and it really did make Scotland, feel ripped off and look like they got ripped off, because that call was bogus.
They did get ripped off. That call was horrible.
It was bad. What? I don't understand the call.
Yeah.
The Scottish player gets shoved, and the free kick goes to Italy. I can understand no call at all. Yeah. How does the Italian player get the call? I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. That said, though, McFadden had the chance, and it didn't even need to come down to that call. If he had buried that one. Also, if that call wasn't made, the game probably would have ended up in a 1-1 tie, and then even that probably wouldn't have been good enough to put Scotland through. It would have been. It would have taken a miracle for them to get through.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways to look at this, but the point being the call, it was definitely a bogus call.
And Scotland seems to be wrong.
FIFA's got to look into these things.
Do you think they will? I don't think they will.
No, they never do. Well, they say they do.
FIFA seems to be content with making sure that their teams get in, and I can understand that from a monetary perspective and whatever. But it always seems to be that Italy always just seems to squeak in, and France always seems to squeak in. And, for a sport where there's so much parity a lot of the time and anything can happen, quote unquote, it seems that these calls always seem to happen with Italy. These little things. I'm not a conspiracy theorist kind of guy.
Me neither.
I don't. But it doesn't make a lot of sense when you see these things happen, and you got to wonder what's going on with FIFA and what they're telling the refs and what the refs have. The referee affects the game, and they're not supposed to be emotional, they're supposed to be impartial, but maybe they do get affected by it. I don't know. Now, what's the answer though? Because you look at Scotland, and to be honest, you got a team who beat France twice. They beat them in France for the first time since 1950, I think it was. They beat Italy, and then they go on to, potentially tie them, end up losing in the last minute. They did drop games against Georgia and these sort of other clubs, but they did, reasonably well against Ukraine as well. How can a team that is that successful in the qualifying stages doesn't even get a chance, doesn't even get to sniff at the title at the end? They don't get it. They don't get into the tournament. Is that right? Like, I don't understand the qualifying system.
Well, a lot of people have a problem with the system, particularly the groups.
Particularly the Scots.
Yeah. But I know you have a great idea, actually, of what to do to rectify that.
Well, I don't know how great it is. Yeah. I mean, I think it's great.
I think it's great idea. That's why I brought it up.
But, but what, for me, I don't understand why there needs to be groups. Why can't they have a single table? I guess they want to have their seeds. Maybe that makes a difference or something, but why can't they do almost like MLS? Why can't they have a single table? You play it out through a qualifying stage that would be like a season, and then you go into the final tournament. Maybe top 8, top 16, whatever the size of the tournament is, end up going through. There's got to be a way to do it. If these teams, I don't even understand the seeding. If these teams are truly good enough to be in the finals, if they're truly good enough to make it there, then why can't they just prove that against anyone?
Yeah.
Why do they have to be seeded in this way? And why do teams like Scotland have to be forced to be in the the third pot and go up against Italy and France and Ukraine, who they didn't play very well, but on paper a really good club.
Yeah, no, I love that idea with just one big group there, and I think the problem
duke it out.
Yeah, let them duke it out. But I think the problem with that is that it would be too fair.
Yeah, FIFA does not like things that are fair.
No fairness.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're never going to see a Faroe Islands versus Georgia World Cup final.
Exactly.
And maybe that has something to do with skill, but maybe that has something to do with who they want to be in there.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite sad. And it just really got soured on Saturday for the whole idea of it. The international tournaments just really irked me lately the last couple of times around, and it's just. Anyway, I've been reading too many books.
Yeah.
I read, Luigi gave me a book. It was called Foul.
Okay.
And it's all about the corruption in FIFA and UEFA, and I don't know. I'm probably going to get in trouble even saying this now. I'm going to have FIFA representatives at my door or something. But it was just, you read it and you're kind of like, what's going on? It deals with Adidas and all about the World Cup in the U.S. and
I don't think I want to read that book. I don't. Think
it'll make you cry. It really will. It's, but
Not
who knows?
on my,
At the same time, people are nuts and they read into everything and anything. So,
that's
but
true.
Okay. So there's some other internationals though, and one of Toronto FC's own, Maurice Edu, played in the United States game against South Africa, and he played the whole game, or at least started the match.
Yep.
Yeah. So in the United States, winning that 1-0, I believe, was the score. I just checked it actually.
I think it was 1-0.
I think it was 1. Yeah. And that's a great result. And you know what? For a young guy, Maurice Edu, what a year for this guy.
Unbelievable.
Like this guy makes a really tough decision to give up his last season in college to go pro. He gets drafted number 1 overall. He becomes Rookie of the Year. Has an awesome season with Toronto FC.
Great year.
He gets called up for the U.S. national team, then gets this, I would say a dream tryout, not tryout, but dream sort of training exercise with Aston Villa, and, and the potential to play for the Olympics as well. What more can you want in a season than this guy's had? It's just been unbelievable.
Great for Maurice Edu, maybe not the best thing for us. because that also draws a lot of eyes towards him. And the question then turns to how long are we going to be able to keep him on the squad? And he played so great this year. We want to keep him as long as possible. And you look at a guy like Altidore. I mean, he's going to be out the door pretty soon. I mean, the way things look, you know.
Well, here's the question. Now you look at Maurice Edu, and maybe his star shines too bright for Toronto FC. That's just a fact of the game. Maybe he's admitted that he wants to go to Europe. I think that he has the potential to go to Europe. I think if he goes to Aston Villa, he's gonna find out the difference in physicality in MLS.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And he's gonna find out what it's like to have somebody on top of you in this blink of an eye. When the ball comes to you in the EPL, that's it. You have someone right on top of you. MLS, you get a bit more time. And these are things he's going to have to work through. But I think he has the skill and the ability to be a successful player over there. So my question is, does Toronto FC try and get money for him, with 1 year left in his contract or whatever, and try and move him in the transfer window, or do we get everything out of him that we can and let and say thanks for the memories and sort of let him play out his career and then make his decision then and sort of end up, I guess, empty-handed?
It's a tough decision. I mean, speaking from a fan's point of view, obviously we'd like to see him as much as possible.
Yeah.
But if you want to look at the financial point of view, obviously you want to get as much as you can for him. And if you're going to accept the fact that he's not going to be around at some point,
yeah,
then maybe that's the best way to look at it. But also, you're talking about MLSE. I mean, there's a lot of cash in the coffers there. Maybe that's not the priority.
Yeah.
Well, it always is for them. Yeah, actually, yeah.
Well, the other thing too, though, is interesting is the sort of maybe somebody on the message board or can send an email to us and let us know some more information on this. Is the rules regarding MLS transfers? Obviously, it's a single entity system, and so does the transfer money go to Toronto FC? I think they get a portion of it, but I don't think they get the money. So if they transfer Edu for $1 million, I don't think that money goes to Toronto FC. So that maybe that incentive's not there. And I really wonder what the incentive is for MLS and what sort of stake they have in it. It's kind of a really strange setup when you think about it, because what if a big club comes in and says, we'll give you $5 million for X player,
right?
And Toronto says no way because he's our player, he's our star. What's MLS gonna say? Who's to say they don't get a phone call from the head office saying this looks great for the league to send him off to Manchester United for $3 million?
Right.
Maybe we should take it.
Yeah.
Really interesting spin. I wonder if anybody has insights on that, can fill us in on that, because that's something.
That'd be great. Actually, I was totally unaware of that.
Well, we're getting into our conspiracy theories again. It's kind of.
Now Don Garber's involved.
That's it. Patrick's gonna freak. But so now Edu, he also may not even actually get the chance to play for Aston Villa in that sort of warm-up in the winter because of the American Olympic team. He may be going over there as well to try out for that. So I don't know, what's got in store for this guy? Is it,
For Edu?
Yeah.
Well, I think he's going to be gone at some point. I mean, he's just too talented. And he's only going to get better. He's so young.
Yeah.
So I think that it's only a matter of time for him, just as it is for Altidore. He's going to be gone as well. And, I mean, it's just a matter of time. They're going to go the way Freddie Edu, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Now,
enjoy him while you can.
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully, next season will be even better for him. But talking about, the obvious player switches, these things happen. The expansion draft's coming up. The San Jose Earthquakes are coming back to the league. And they're going to be having expansion draft. We all have memories of that from last year when Toronto FC was having their expansion draft and getting some players.
Yep.
Mo used the draft last year more as a sign and trade kind of thing. Picked up some guys that he had no real intention of putting on the roster, just to sort of use them as fodder to get the actual guys that he did. Now, obviously, Toronto FC is going to be putting some players up into this draft. Now, who are we looking at here? What sort of strategies would you go for if you were Mo?
I would put Reda up there. Hopefully, the big Luca Brass, maybe. Hopefully, somebody will take one of those guys off our heads.
Well, it's funny because you look at they would count as senior internationals, right?
Yeah.
So is it a strategy that Mo could use to put these guys up that maybe they're not going to get picked up, and hopefully Toronto FC retains as many players as possible?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the strategy. I think that's it right there.
Yeah. Who do you think we could potentially lose that's a good sort of fringe player? I would be really sad to see a guy like Pozniak go.
Yeah, he can be
You know,
potentially lost
a
there.
workhorse who kind of goes in and grinds. Maybe not the most talented player in the team, but at least he gives 100% every time. And
Yeah, honestly, I think that there's a low percentage chance here that we're going to lose somebody of any significance in this draft. The team isn't all that deep. I think we'll be able to protect the guys that we need to protect.
Yeah. Now, speaking of Mo and his sort of decisions as of late, he's been off to Brazil at the Copacabana, I believe. Hopefully not wearing a Speedo.
With Barry Manilow, man.
Yeah. But he's apparently looking for players. Or he's looking for something. I don't know what he's looking for. But apparently he's in Brazil. He is looking. He's scouting. I look at this and I think a little bit of his PR, to be honest. He's down there. He's looking for talent, obviously. Toronto FC needs depth more than they need anything. They have a good, first-team squad when we're all healthy. But, you see what injuries can do to the club. So, is Mo down there as a bit of publicity, looking for people to sort of answer the critics who have said that you're an English-based team, or you've got sort of like you don't have enough multicultural sort of flair, pizzazz on the team, if you will. What's going on? What are we looking for from Mo?
Well, I think you're right. I think it has a lot to do with PR, but I really hope that he's doing more than that down there, because I think that if we need to get some more of those South American type players with a little bit more flair and a lot of skill. I think that a lot of the problems from this year stem to the lack of tactics that we displayed this year, and the long ball tactics, which were successful a little bit of the time, but there was just to rely on that. I don't think it was a good thing to do this year.
So you want to ditch long ball? You don't think it's a good system to use? Because it's not a widely used system in MLS. You look at the teams like Chivas and those, and they play South American style on the deck, kind of fall and.
Right.
But yeah, like they don't use, Mo's sort of, and you look at Dickio's perfect example, where MLS has just never seen something like that, where you've got this big target man that they're just punting the ball up to, and the defenders don't really know what to do. They're screaming for fouls when it's just him just taking a space and winning balls. And I think you're right when you say, when we were healthy, it actually did work quite well. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a good system to use for MLS because of that, because it's sort of that little niche that Toronto FC's grinded out. And I don't really see Mo changing it, do you? And if he doesn't, what sort of impact is a Brazilian going to come? He's going to be able to dance around and then pass it to Robinson to punt up to Dicchio?
Well, I think that he should change it. I mean, I'm not saying abandon it entirely. I mean, just diversify the tactics a little bit. Why do we have to crank it up? And the other teams, like a lot of these long balls, the other teams just scoop up possession and they just control the ball for most of the game, and it just wears down the team. And I just don't think it's, the team didn't prove to be that successful this year in terms of wins and losses. So it didn't really. Okay, look at the injuries, blah blah blah. But in terms of the tactics, I think that if we got let's say we got a Brazilian guy, put him on the left side, and try and keep things on the deck a little bit. You got guys like Adu, Ronnie O'Brien, they're capable of that. You got Cunningham, he'd love to get some through balls down the middle along the ground. I think just to change things up, and then you can throw in the long ball a little bit as well. You don't have to completely abandon it, right?
Yeah. Now, how many guys do you think we need? I mean, obviously Mo's not going to bring back 8 Brazilians,
right? Yeah.
But 1 or 2 guys, maybe midfield. Obviously looking for new defenders.
Yes.
And looking for somebody out left. I thought Pozniak, like I said before, real grinder, did a great job coming in, but I don't know if he can do the business week in, week out to the effectiveness that Toronto FC needs him to have.
No, he can come off the bench, in a perfect world.
Yeah.
And then you have Carl Robinson that can do a lot of the grinding, and Brennan. But I think that those guys should do the grinding, and then they should, as soon as they, try and be the ball winners in the midfield, and then as soon as they get the ball, try and give it to O'Brien or Adu, some of the more skillful players on the team, and instead of just punting it up the field all the time.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see what Mo comes up with, and I don't know about you, but I'm really anxious and looking forward to hearing what sort of comes out of this trip to Brazil. But, anyways, switching gears now, what we do want to do is we're going to go to the phones and we're going to talk to Ben Knight. You will remember Ben Knight from his column throughout the season on Sportsnet, and Ben is now with the Globe and Mail. Ben, how you doing?
I'm very well, guys. How are you?
Oh, we're great. Thanks so much for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Happy to do it. Happy to do it.
Now, I take it you took in the MLS Cup yesterday?
Yes, indeed, I did.
How did you enjoy the match?
Well, I didn't think it was quite as over the top dramatic as last year's game was, but that sure was a beautiful, beautiful goal that Di Rosario scored. I thought Houston a little lucky, maybe. I think they could have easily been down a lot more at the half, but they hung it there and they got it done at the end.
Yeah, what's the problem with New England? Like, I mean, this is a few years now that they've been in the final. They can't seem to take that extra step that they need to win. Steve Nicholls sort of widely regarded as being one of the best, if not the best coach in MLS. But they can't seem to get the job done when it comes down to the last step.
Okay, so let me get this straight. We just had a leaping, happy, jumping up and down party at the middle of BMO Field to celebrate a last place finish, and we're seriously talking about what's wrong with a team that's been in the Final Four for the past 6 seasons.
Okay, well, what's wrong with Toronto FC then?
We just need a few more seasons is all. I think New England are a very, very good team. I think they've just been beaten in the final, and that's the thing. When you get to the final, there's usually a team good enough to be in the final there waiting for you, and sometimes it goes that way. I do think they missed a chance to put Houston away, but full credit to Houston for coming back.
Yeah, and a great crowd on hand. I didn't get the actual number, but there was a lot of supporters groups represented. I know some Toronto FC fans were obviously there, and a huge contingent of DC United fans who I guess were hoping that their team would be on the pitch, but unfortunately not.
Not to mention Houston fans, man, that orange smoke was ugly. Can you imagine being caught behind a cloud of that thing trying to see the game going on?
Well, they're doing all right. I mean, they had about, 30,000 in their semifinal game as well, didn't they? Yeah, so that.
No, it's been a great story. They've really taken it to it down there. Hey, here's a cute stat for you that I'm going to put in the Globe today. I want the only team in the history, the only team in MLS that has never lost to a defending champion or a team that's about to be champion.
Is the answer to that question Toronto FC?
The answer to that question is Toronto FC, who beat Houston 1-0 at BMO and held a 0-0 down in Houston. And yeah, it was part of the goal drought, but it was a lovely part of the goal drought.
Well, now what's the sort of rationale for that? I mean, Toronto FC, finishing bottom of the table, Houston Dynamo winning the MLS Cup, yet there's the parity in the league where Toronto doesn't lose to them all season.
Well, there's also the fact that soccer is a very low-scoring game. If you don't give up a goal, you don't lose. And if you score one goal, you've got a very good chance of winning. So you do get upsets a lot. You get situations like this. I don't have any doubt right now that if Houston played Toronto 10 times, the results would be very, very much in Houston's favor. But on those two occasions, they couldn't put TFC away, and that's what you get.
Well, yeah, and one of the interesting things that comes out of the Houston team, of course, is Dwayne De Rosario. Dwayne De Rosario, Canadian boy, and definitely a fan favorite here.
I would love to hear a trade that says that Toronto FC has sent X, Y, and Z to Houston for both Onstad and De Rosario. I mean, Onstad just had the lowest goals against average for a whole season in the history of the league, and we're getting up to a dozen seasons now. That's a fairly significant chunk of time.
Yeah.
We obviously have some goaltending issues at the moment. It would be amazing, but what it would cost, I think, would be pretty prohibitive. I have no reason to doubt that De Rosario is very, very happy where he is right now. So I'd say it's very unlikely. But, I mean, everything else about Toronto FC was incredibly unlikely, so who knows?
Yeah. Now, what about DP money? Is this the kind of thing where you think Toronto FC should be throwing DP money at De Rosario?
Well, I don't think the issue is so much the money. I think it's an issue of what it would take to make a trade, to make a deal with Houston that would send him up there. I mean, as much as we fall in love with these guys, the talent is still a little bit thin up here.
Yeah.
And De Rosario can lay very proper claim to being one of the most dangerous players in MLS right now. It would cost an enormous amount of contracts and money and things like that to get him out of there in the first place. If Houston was interested in making the deal, and well, putting this out of Houston's position, are you interested in making the deal?
Yeah. Yeah, who are you going to go for kind of thing. Well, just talking about the Toronto FC talent pool that we have at the moment, and just sort of switching gears a little bit to the Don Garber State of the League address from a couple of days ago, there was sort of the talk about the domestic player rule and how that's affected Toronto FC throughout the season and whether or not that's going to stick around. Do you think that's been a big factor in Toronto FC's sort of lack of depth this season, or they're sort of lagging behind the rest of the league?
Not really. No, you see, now I have an unpopular view of this thing because I don't really like any kind of national restrictions. And I know Mo Johnson's got a lot of criticism for not playing the Canadian kids enough, but with the exception of like a really good push from Gabe Gallo late in the season, I didn't see a lot from those kids to really warrant them getting a whole lot more playing time. Sorry, I know that's unpopular, Andrea Lombardo fans. I know he's got a lot of potential, but I want to see more on the pitch than what I saw. I'm not doubting the kid's talent or his ability or his future. I'm just saying I'm not entirely sure that we didn't see a fair representation of what we had up there. I'm not a big fan of residency rules in general, so how it would affect it, I'm really not all that sure. I do know that it is still in everyone's best interest for Toronto and Montreal and Vancouver down the road, should they get in, to have strong Canadian players, but they are going to have to earn their way onto the team, and I think we all better get used to that, because really that's the way it's going to have to be if we ever want to win a championship up here.
The question is there a sort of gap in the Canadian talent pool where, you know, when I look and I see these sort of players overseas that are playing, there's a lot of Canadian talent out there, maybe a little bit too good or too expensive for MLS, but then when it comes to other players that could potentially come to Toronto FC, they seem to fall short. Is there a gap there, and how does that get fixed?
Well, first of all, let's clarify something. The significant majority of Canadian players on the books of Toronto FC are very young players. I mean, Brennan and Sutton, obviously, they're veterans. I'm sure there are others who are slipping out of my head at the moment. But the vast majority are very young players, and these guys aren't the finished deal yet. And to play in the pros, there's a big jump. You know, it's very hard for a player to come in and really make a mark at a young age. I mean, we saw Freddie Adu do it this year, but he's not Canadian. But my goodness, did we have a great time watching him.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a talent gap. That's part of the problem. That's part of why we need to fix the whole player development thing. That's part of the whole ongoing drama now about what the clubs are going to do, whether the CSA will still be involved, what the future is going to be. Yes, I mean, I think it's a simple case of we have Canadian players who are good enough to play for TFC and make a contribution. We have players who will be, and right now maybe the gap's a little wider than we thought it was, but at least those players are on a professional local club. They're getting regular training at that level all the time, and they are only going to get better. I mean, what Gabe Gallo did at the end of the year, he looked very comfortable, creative, and I like his chances a lot.
Yeah, now, in terms of the sort of Canadian talent pool, and something that would obviously dilute it even more would be obviously the expansion into Montreal or Vancouver. Now, in Don Garber's State of the League address, he spoke to those teams a little bit, but he didn't really seem overly enthusiastic about the potential for a team in Vancouver. He mentioned Montreal a little bit more, but didn't really seem overly enthusiastic about the setup that the Saputos had with the stadium right now. And he really seems to have his focus on the United States. Do you think Canadian fans are being a bit naive to think that expansion is going to happen anytime soon to Montreal?
Well, let's ask a tough question that isn't being asked right now. Why does that stadium in Montreal why is it not going to have 20,000 plus seats? They're building what is essentially a metal frame building on a big lot at the back of the Olympic Stadium. There's plenty of room there. If Montreal really does have ambitions to go MLS, and if that's where they want to go, and if the Saputos have the money to back it, why are they building such a small stadium? Well, again, put yourself in Garber's position. You know, obviously what happened in Toronto this year is sensational, and and I personally, I know this country pretty well. I believe it can easily happen in Montreal and Vancouver, that level of enthusiasm is there. If anything, I think those are probably better soccer towns than Toronto and have been for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
But how would you feel, given that, what would you feel about Montreal's credibility and the whole future of the whole thing if you're building like a 15,000 seat stadium?
Yeah, it's quite small.
I'd be annoyed.
Well, do you think he's holding them to a higher standard, though, as well? Because Seattle doesn't even have a stadium, and they're playing in an NFL stadium, which isn't soccer-specific, and it has turf. And, you know, it sort of irks me a little bit when I hear Don Garber say things like we're only expanding to teams that have soccer-specific stadiums, and then they expand to San Jose, who doesn't have a soccer-specific stadium, and then they expand to Seattle, who also doesn't have a soccer-specific stadium. But then he talks about the Saputos, and it seems that he's holding the Canadian teams to a little bit sort of higher standard in terms of what it's going to take to get a team in MLS.
See, I'm not quite sure if that's it. Let's turn it around and try it from another angle. MLS, when it initially started, if you'll remember, it was a condition from FIFA when the U.S. hosted the Cup in '94 that there be a domestic league.
Yep.
The fact that it didn't happen until 2 years later was a major sore point and sticking point for a long, long time. There was a lot of resentment at the FIFA end around that. So once it did start out, it was meant to be an American-only league. So just getting a Canadian team in there in the first place, for the longest time, remember, that seemed like it was going to be impossible. Okay, so now it's happened. Well, all right, so let's call ourselves the outsiders from across the border, which essentially we are. Now we want to get other teams in. We get a lot of big noise from Montreal, and the Montreal Impact have been playing to fantastic crowds for the league they've been in for the last time. They did 7,000, 8,000, 11,000 fans.
Yeah, for USL.
Montreal, that's tremendous. And now Garber looks down there, sees the hole in the ground behind the Olympic Stadium, sees the blue metal scaffolding and the seats rising, and the seating capped at significantly below 20,000. Yeah, okay, Seattle's in a football stadium, but Seattle's proven over the years it's a good soccer town, and there's a gajillion Microsoft dollars out there. I'm sure there'll be a stadium there. San Jose, well, you know, two MLS championships, and again, major software money out there, major new money out there, lots of people in a position to take part of it. Montreal, old guard Canadian town, and they're building a stadium, but it's way too small. Does this sound, you know, like if you view it from that perspective, do you see what the problem is?
Yeah, and so, you know, I almost think that maybe it's correct to say that they should step up if they really do want a team, because like you're saying, it's the American League, and, you know, to get, you know, for the MLS to go to a Canadian city over an American city, maybe they do have to do something special to prove that they're going to be the real deal. And I think MLSE was a huge factor in Toronto getting a franchise, just because of the credibility and the sort of just the notoriety of the company itself.
Yeah, and also the fact that FIFA was determined that there would be a stadium here and that there was commitment from the three levels of government for that to happen. I mean, a lot of really unlikely, almost impossible things had to happen for Toronto FC to get here. Toronto being here is a huge step up the ladder for both Montreal and Vancouver, and they were both mentioned in that State of the Union address, and not too many cities were. But again, tell me if I'm missing something. If you're going to use private money and your own dream and vision to build a stadium in Montreal, why stop at 13 or 14 or 15,000 seats when you know that if you want to step up, you've got to be above 20? Why are you doing that? I mean, okay, it's expandable. Why not do it now? We're looking at 3 years down the road anyway, at a minimum. Why?
Yeah, show some ambition kind of thing. And
well, I don't know what's going on. I mean, it's such a hugely mixed signal. You know, to me, it says we want to build the Impact Stadium because they're a hit in this town, but it also says we want to keep them at this level.
So would you say that Saputo's maybe not quite as serious about MLS as the reports claim that he is?
I don't know what to think. This baffles me. I don't know what to think, but I know what I'd think if I was Don Garber.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's look to the off-season. Mo's obviously down in Brazil, and some other things are going on. Maurice Seydoux is going over to Aston Villa, potentially, you know, barring sort of...
That might get wiped out by the U.S. Olympic team.
Yeah. So now, what sort of things do you think Toronto FC needs to do in the off-season here to put together a real potential threat for next season?
Well, you see, now I'm of the opinion that if the roster that Mo put together by the middle of the season had stayed healthy, TFC had a very good chance of sneaking into the playoffs. If Dicchio and Cunningham had been healthy up front, if O'Brien had been there to feed them, if Colin Samuel hadn't got quite so much playing time, I think, well, you know what? Samuel confused the issue at the end there with those 2 goals in the last couple of games. Up until that point, it was pretty clear that he wasn't getting it done.
Yeah, some people could say...
it would have been better for all of us if that message had been clearly put in. Now we don't know for sure, and he might have done just enough to bring himself back. I think the core of the team wasn't bad. It depends. I mean, if you can hang on to a new Marvell win, you've got a couple of really dynamic, forward-moving players from the back who can create like crazy, and you put some, you put Dicchio and Cunningham up front of them, and I think you've got something going on. When I hear talk of half the roster turning over, that seems high to me. But then on the other hand, they were a last place team in a small backwater soccer league, so obviously there's change coming. How much I don't know, who I don't know, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what Mo comes up with, because I'll tell you what, I wasn't sure at first, but I like the way this guy built the team, and I'm very curious to see what he's going to do next.
Are you confident for some success for next season? I mean, I don't think they'll be quite the same club they were this year, but how far can they go?
I don't know how far it can go, but I sure am looking forward to it.
Okay, well, tell us a little bit about your blog then.
Well, this is wonderful. This came out of absolutely nowhere. I had not even thought of contacting the Globe and Mail. On the morning of October 3rd, I got definitive word that the Sportsnet job was coming to an end. And by sundown that same day, the Globe was sending me emails asking me if I was interested. So basically what it is you go to globesports.com, you click on soccer, and you go hunting for the blog, which is called On Soccer. I'm writing about 5 pieces a week. There's contributions from other writers too. Larry Nilsson's been in there a couple of times. We're hoping to get Stephen Brunn in there to do a piece now and then. It's just basically a ongoing, enthusiastic commentary on the world of soccer. And it's a great opportunity for the fans, too, because there's a comment section, and we've been getting some great stuff. So if you read something and it sparks something and you've got something you want to say, soccer fans, you've got your own little corner of the Globe and Mail now that you can come put up your opinion, put up your 2 cents worth, put up your what I'd do if I were Mo Johnston, whatever the heck. And it's going to get out there and it's going to get an audience. So if you haven't come over, do come on over. I've got about 14 pieces up there now. There's another one going up later today. And I think this is a happy and exciting time because the soccer fans are finding out they've really got a voice and people are really listening to them. And I'm a fan as much as I am a journalist. I think more than I am a journalist. And to get a spot for that at the Globe and a room for all of us to sign on and be part of it, I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and I hope you guys are enjoying it.
That's great. Just one last quick question here, Ben. Favorite moment of the season, real quick.
Oh boy, there were a lot, but I think it's the first goal in the Chicago game and the feet cushions flying all over the place. That thing was just absolutely unbelievable.
What a sight, eh?
I wrote that the sharp edges of the feet cushions and a really nice following wind off the lake was turning average non-athletic fans into major league right fielders. Flying in from everywhere. Just the joy of that moment. The fact that Edson Buttle did something right. Just all that stuff. It was an amazing moment, and nothing in the year quite topped it. Although I did call Dicchio's goal 2 seconds before it went in, and somebody in the press box was chewing me out for how badly Dicchio was playing when that thing went into the net. So that was fun too, but that was more personal satisfaction. The goal against Chicago was just one of the greatest moments ever.
So you weren't screaming for a foul on Pozniak when Dicchio's goal went in like everybody else, right? That's what I was doing.
I was just too blown away that the whole thing had happened. I mean, this has been such an incredible season. The odds against this were almost infinite, folks. Stop and remember the frustration. Stop and remember 3 years ago, if you were me, writing columns saying, I want a new North American Soccer League, and getting emails telling me what an idiot I was because there was no money, there was no stadium, none of it was going to happen. To just have it all come together the way it did. I mean, we are just, those of us who love Toronto FC and got to take the ride this summer are just the luckiest soccer fans on the planet right now. That was the happiest last place and I think it's just going to go up from here.
Well, it's been a fantastic season, and you've been a big part of that, and we thank you very much for that. And just want to say a big thanks for coming on the show, and we look forward to your ongoing columns in the Globe and Mail.
Happy to do it, guys. Come on over, globesports.com, the soccer page on soccer, and anytime you want to talk, give me a call.
That's great. Thanks, Ben.
Take care.
Right, cheers. That's Ben Knight from the Globe and Mail. You can check out his blog on the Globe and Mail website. All right, coming up on Red Patch Live now, we are going overseas to our across-the-pond correspondent. He is back, Patrick Kavanagh. Pat, how you doing?
Pretty good. You guys thought you could freaking get rid of me, but there's no possible chance.
Never.
Thousands of miles away and still in your head.
Never happened. So what's going on over there? What are you saying?
Well, everything's going on. I mean, we're having a great time. Obviously, Colleen's off to school and taking care of that. I'm unemployed.
Fantastic.
Which has been quite enjoyable because all I really get to do is drink in pubs and watch football. Just got back from Paris. Got a little touch of the football culture there, but very little because obviously it's the romantic and random makeout capital of the world.
Yeah, I'm sure you partook in that.
Of course. Pardon me?
I said, of course you took part in that. Never pass up the opportunity.
I was randomly linking out with men and women on the street. I mean, of course that's what I'm going to do.
Nothing changes. Nothing changes. Okay, so what's going on here? Because we're gonna be talking to you every week, and you're gonna be doing sort of a report from overseas for us. Now, what can everyone expect to hear from you on a week-to-week basis, other than the usual, blabbering?
Other than rants about nothing, I think it's a really cool idea. You and I have been talking, and I think other people would be curious. We get a lot of, obviously, individuals that come from not only the UK, but the rest of Europe, talking about TFC and giving their opinions on, I guess, a comparative analysis on how TFC compares to, and the MLS compares to other leagues. Well, I think there's a great opportunity now that I'm over here, and I've had a full year to experience the MLS and TFC to make that comparative analysis myself, but with almost a reverse perspective. And I think that it's going to be a great opportunity for me to talk to people where I'm at in New York, but I'm also trying to form a Red Patch Northern England chapter where we can also have discussions about the leagues here and how they compare players here and who would be suitable in the MLS, players that maybe are fringe players here that would be excellent additions to not only our club but the league in general. Obviously, none of us like that the league becomes a retirement venue for Beckham, for these types of players. And I think there's players that maybe are a little bit more in their prime that would, that we'd serve well to have over in the league. So I think we'll discuss those types of things, discuss what people here think of the MLS, if they do at all, and maybe expose them to TFC and its fandom and how it does compare, I think, quite well with some of the leagues and some of the teams and some of the fans here. I think that is where the great opportunity is, and that's the types of things I'd like to talk about on a week-to-week basis. So I think, 10 minutes a week, I'll give that kind of perspective to hopefully get the opportunity to interview some people and actually provide live perspective of what's happening in not only England but other portions of the UK.
Now, speaking about a live perspective, you're taking in a match this weekend, I hear?
Yeah, this weekend, Colleen and I are actually heading to St. James's Park to see Newcastle United grab and pound Liverpool.
Sounds awesome.
In the adjacent match last season, I believe Newcastle won 2-1 on a late goal from my recollection. So I'm hoping for a similar result. The team has let itself down a little bit of late, but I don't mind seeing my lovely partner go home crying on a Saturday afternoon, I'll be honest.
Patrick, you have no shame whatsoever.
Not at all. I hope she's in tears wallowing in her jersey. Her kit has a wet stain from her own tears on the front as I lay into her about how crap she is as a glory hunter.
Well, we're definitely looking forward to speaking to you every week and having you back on the show, and just more than anything, happy that we've got the show back online. So thanks for this today, and we'll be in touch with you next week and hopefully be hearing your first report back.
Hey, it was great talking to you. Just hearing you laughing in the background together, Alex. And, yeah, I can't wait to talk to you guys every week. I hope I provide some decent perspective. If anything, well, it gives me something to do, to be honest.
Sounds good. Okay, thanks, Pat. We'll talk to you later.
Cheers. Take care, guys.
Right. That's Patrick Kavanagh, former co-host of Red Patch Live, now our overseas correspondent from York in England. So, you know, for sure, a big thanks to everyone who contributed to the show today. Ben Knight, fantastic. Thanks, Ben, so much for coming on. Patrick, obviously, we're looking forward to your reports every week. We're almost out of here, but as always, we're going to go with the news. We don't really have a lot of news, though. It's the off-season.
The season's over.
That's it. No, you know what? We do have a couple of things going on. You know, we've got a couple of rec teams that started up. Wish them good luck for their indoor season and keep the community thing going. The Red Patch Boys 2008 scarf, we had a design contest that just finished up, and I wanted to congratulate McLaren and everyone who submitted a design, but McLaren in particular for the winning design, which is fantastic. And that is the scarf that's going to be part of the membership package for Red Patch Boys for 2008, which I think everybody's really looking forward to. It's going to be awesome, and it's going to help us to do the thing that's important to us the most, which is support Toronto FC, travel to see Toronto FC, and to create atmosphere in the stadium. The other thing that we want to talk about news-wise, of course, is the Great Canadian Toronto FC Red Patch Boys Song Contest 2008. Which is currently, we're currently waiting for submissions, accepting submissions. And, you know, it's a great way for people to contribute and to help out. And, you know, it doesn't have to be a chant. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't even have to have words. It can be like a dance song for Toronto FC. I think the idea is to sort of be creative, to sort of express yourself for, Toronto FC and to put something cool together.
What you want to do is you want to listen to the Bare Naked Ladies song, and you don't want to do that. Just anything that's not that.
Did you know, this is a fact, T is for Toronto.
Oh, is that right?
Yep. And the F, contrary to popular belief, it does stand for football.
Oh, I thought it stood for something completely different.
No,
wow.
No, it does not. It stands for football. C is for the club that we love. Great. That's all I got to say about that song.
Thank the Bare Naked Ladies for letting us know that in their song.
You know, it's just brilliant effort by them, and I got to take my hat off. But if you have something better that you want to do in a song form, submit it to us. Go on the website, go on the message board, come up with that. Let us know. We're pretty much done here for the day, but we really want to thank you guys for listening. Big thanks again to Ben Knight, to Patrick Kavanagh for coming on the show. And we're going to be back next week. The show's going to be on every week. We're really going to try and put something great together for you guys. If you don't know already, go check out the website. The main website is under construction, but you can still link to the message board and the Red Patch Girls calendar, www.redpatchboys.ca. Red Patch Live will be back next week. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.
Have a good week, everybody.